Want to make sure that we record this so that it's available for later. Okay, great. So for anybody who doesn't know who I am, my name is Kevin Hetrick. I am the Director of IT and Customer Support here at SimpleTax. I've been here, about 11 years now. So this is a strange year. I miss seeing you guys in person. Normally we do training in person, but this year COVID's got us sort of in lockdown. So we're going to talk about the sort of the elephant in the room when it comes to this year and COVID. So I've got a nice little presentation on some things that might help you guys prepare yourselves in your office for the coming tax year. So we're going to start here. So we're going to start right here. We're going to get, so as you gear up for this next coming tax season, a lot of you are in a position where you're going to have to decide how you're going to set your office up. Are you going to be, in office? Are you going to be in remote, working remotely? Or are you going to be doing a hybrid of the two? So I want to sort of talk about each situation a little bit and kind of give you guys some tips and some advice on how to plan accordingly as best as we can for what we know right now. Okay, so will you be remote? So going 100% remote may be the best option for your business. If many of your clients prefer remote meetings, or if you're concerned for your own health or the health and safety of your clients as well as your staff. If you choose to work fully remote this year, here's some tips that can help you, be successful. The first one is to create a focused workplace. Um, I know even for myself, sometimes it's tempting to, try to work in front of the TV, work in the living room, work at your, as you're moving around and things like that. At home, there's a different level of distraction than what you face in the office, right? I know in my case, I've got dogs. So my dogs are a constant distraction when I'm working from home. They always want my attention. They want to be involved in everything that I do, right? So I have had to take one of our rooms and turn that into my office so that I have a focused place, so that I can stay productive throughout the day. So I encourage you to do that. You want to make sure that you create a space that's going to be quiet, especially as you're dealing with taxes. You want to make sure that your customers are going to be comfortable with the privacy, that maybe somebody's not overhearing their personal information or their business at home. You're going to be far more productive, having that set up. If you currently rent an office space and think remote work will be a long-term solution, you may consider cutting that cost by foregoing your office in favor of a home office this year, and then maybe going back to the office once this COVID pandemic is over, hopefully sooner than later. Ensure secure document sharing with your clients. So with no in-person meeting, clients will need a way to share their tax documents with you securely. Now, the software does have some of these features, some of these functions for you, which is great. We have our mobile app as well as our client portal. We've introduced a new feature this year that we will talk about a little bit later when we get closer to going over what's new in the software. But you want to make sure that your clients have a way to send you documents, to review their own documents. And I think the features inside the software we have will really help in that function. So get familiar with video conferencing solutions. While you're working remotely, it is understandable and normal for there to be a disconnect with your clients. Lots of emails, lots of text messages, even phone calls. But there's a sense of security in being able to look somebody in the eye through a video conferencing solution. We're using Zoom today. It is an extremely popular one. So if you're not familiar with how to use Zoom, then I would encourage you to look more into using Zoom, and maybe even setting up your own your own setup inside of Zoom. So will you be in person? So if you're meeting clients in person, this year, just remember that business as usual is going to look a little bit different than we have in the past. Set safety guidelines. If you haven't already done so, consider creating new policies to keep yourself and your clients safe. For example, you may want to consider requiring your clients and employees to wear a mask in the office. Um, the CDC encourages it. Um, Always check with local your local administrators, your local politicians, county officials, things like that. Learn what the uh, state and local ordinances are for your small business. I will tell you this: the CDC does consider tax offices as essential. Um, so that is something to keep in mind, because we provide financial services. Our business, for example, here at SimpleTax, is considered essential for the same reason. We provide products and support to those who offer financial services. So keep that in mind. You also may want to consider, I'm not even going to say consider, you should be, if you're going to be in office, you should be sanitizing commonly touched surfaces every day. Maybe even multiple times a day, depending on how busy your office is. You may need to look at rearranging furniture to maintain the 6-foot social distance during the meetings or in the waiting area. You also want to make sure that you communicate any safety procedures that you have put in place to your clients. Um, you know, I'm sure we all have gotten those emails from a variety of businesses telling us what it is they're doing to combat COVID in their particular business. I encourage you to do the same thing. Use social media, send out a newsletter, send out an email blast. You can use text messaging solutions. There's a variety of things. If you have a website, that is a great place to post those safety procedures. If you're going to require clients to wear a mask in the office, you need to let them know before they get there. Do everything humanly possible to make sure that they understand what the guidelines are inside your office, because the last thing you want is them kind of showing up and not knowing, and then given what mask wearing has become, you could end up with an upset or an angry customer that you have that requirement. That's always possible. Will you do a hybrid? I think this year in particular, most tax preparers will likely find themselves offering a combination of remote and in person. I will add this to in person. If you can do it by appointment only and be successful, and you're comfortable with the fact that you can be successful, I would recommend doing that. That will allow you to sort of regulate the flow of people in and out of your office. You can stagger those appointments so that maybe people aren't as close together as often. Um, so we'll give you some of these hybrid options. Invest in a remote desktop software application. Now, this doesn't particularly apply to the software, but a lot of you guys do other things. The software is available to you in an online platform, so you can get to it from any computer. As long as you're in the United States, you're not going to have any trouble. But for the other applications that you use, maybe that are installed locally to your office computer, a remote desktop software like Zoho Assist or LogMeIn or GoToMyPC, TeamViewer, those will allow you to connect to that computer in the office and be able to work on those applications. So that's something that you should probably look into as well. You want to automate wherever possible. And this applies to remote, in office, as well as hybrid. When you're taking meetings both in person and remotely, scheduling is a tricky thing. Like I was saying about appointments, you probably want to invest some time and maybe some resources into an appointment scheduler that will allow you to know who's coming, when's coming, where is the even bigger part. When you're doing hybrid, you may have somebody who's doing an appointment in the office, and then your next appointment may be somebody who's remote. You need to know those things, and you need to be able to plan accordingly. The other thing is to, getting that document management, getting your clients prepped early for maybe the client portal, or communicating with them about the My Tax Office mobile app. These are things that you want to do early, and you want to do often. Okay. We are going to end this one. Let's see. I just want to check. Okay. So now we're going to talk a little bit about what's new in the software as far as what I can show you. There is one thing I can't show you, but we're going to get to it. So first thing first, before I get a million questions on this, we do not have an official start date for the IRS. That has not been announced yet. My expectation is that it probably won't be announced until sometime in January. To be completely honest, I don't think the IRS wants to put that information out early without knowing what the ramifications are going to be from COVID, what kind of limitations they're going to be placed on for that. So I think as soon as they're comfortable with the date, then they will go ahead and announce that date to us. The end date at this point is still April 15th. Will that change? Maybe. That's sort of the best answer I can give you right now, is maybe it will change. So EIFIN verification is still required. It's actually more required than it was before. We were a little early in the curve. We wanted to prep everybody ahead of time, but it is absolutely required now. So we've done a couple of things to make this process a little bit easier for you guys. One is EIFINs that were verified in 2019, you'll have the option now to integrate with prior year. So integrating the EIFIN with the prior year will verify the EIFIN for tax year 2020. So if you did this last year and it was verified, all you have to do is hit that integrate with prior year button, and it'll carry that stuff over forward to this year. So you'll click that button, and then you'll get a pop-up that the EIFIN was verified, and then you just say, yes, I'm using the same EIFIN as last year. You're good. If you change EIFINs, you are going to have to verify that EIFIN again. So there'll be a notification pop-up if your EIFIN is not verified for 2020. This does take some time, so don't freak out. If it doesn't come up right away, but you want to make sure that down here in this bottom section, you want to make sure that you put in the tracking number and that you upload the EIFIN status summary from the IRS e-Services. You can click the blue instructions button, and they'll show you exactly what you need to do to verify your EIFIN. Okay. So once you've uploaded it, it'll tell you EIFIN letter uploaded and saved successfully. So once you've attached that file, you just hit browse and save. Then once it's validated, you'll see there at the bottom it says EIFIN validate. The EIFIN status is verified, then you're good. If it says uploaded and not verified, it means you've done what you need to do so far. The IRS just hasn't sent us back a verification on that EIFIN yet. This is an important note. This is a change. We sort of let it go a little bit longer last year. The IRS made us change that. The software will become locked after 8 unsuccessful password attempts to log in. If the account is locked, you got to call customer support so that we can unlock it. My recommendation is if you try your password 3 times, and it doesn't work, don't try it again. Reset the password. If you're having difficulty resetting the password for any reason, contact customer support. We can help you through that process. I will tell you this as well. I'm going to go back a second. In regards to locked accounts, there are 2 ways to lock your accounts. One is this way. And this only locks your individual login. There's a second provision that we have, a security policy that says if anyone tries to access your account and any login on your account from outside of the United States, it will lock your account as a security provision. I bring that up because a lot of people use VPN software. So if you're using a VPN, that's fine. Just make sure that whatever location you set that VPN to is inside the United States. Don't try, if you go on vacation in the summer, we get this a lot over the summer. Go on vacation to Mexico and you got a customer who calls you, don't try to log into the software. It's going to lock your entire account and then no one's going to be able to get in. If your account shows up locked for any reason, call support. We can unlock it. So bank products, January 2nd is the start date to transmit returns for those people who are requesting preseason advance loans. Please note, returns are locked once the preseason advance request is transmitted to the bank. This means the returns may not be edited prior to the start of the tax season. So once you submit it for, this is a general rule. Once you submit the return, it can't be removed. Just work under that assumption, and that, I won't even say assumption, work under that policy that once you transmit it, it's gone and you won't have anything to worry about. Once the tax season begins, the advance loans will be considered an in-season advance loans. So once the IRS begins accepting returns live, not in the testing window, but once the IRS says, okay, we're live, there's no more pre-AC loans. Those all become in-season loans or post-AC loans. This is an important note that the banks made me say. You should never use last pay stubs to file any tax return, including an application for a preseason advance loan. Here's the truth. The more preparers who do that, the more likely it is that the IRS is going to shut down these pre-ACs and no one will be able to get them. Okay. So virtual tax office solutions for that are included in the software. One is the client portal, the mobile app, as well as we've added a feature now called remote signature. Essentially what this does is it will give you the option to send a text message to your client. Your client will get that text message. And they, from that point, they can sign on their phone after they verify their identity. So they'll verify the identity and then they will sign on their phone. I will have a video out. We're running through the final testing on it, so I can't show it to you live right now. But we will make sure that you guys know how to use that. That's going to be a very vital tool this year for you guys for sure. Now they can always still sign via the mobile app as well. They can also sign via the client portal. I will show you guys the mobile app and client portal. I've actually got a video that goes right through the mobile app. I got one that goes through client portal that'll be great. So I'll be able to show you guys all of that today. So now we're going to get to the good stuff that everybody wants. Yay, tax law updates. So there's quite a few changes with tax law updates, some big, some little, some extended provisions, expiring ITNs. I always say this course is as current as it can be. The IRS is continually sending out guidance. Here's the truth. We still have a stimulus deal that's floating around inside Congress, and we have absolutely no idea how that will affect taxes. My guess is if they get anything past this month regarding stimulus, they're going to tie it to the refunds. I don't think we're going to see another physical check go out like we saw earlier this year. Seems counterproductive. My guess is they're going to give that credit into the tax refund if they can get it done this month. If they don't get anything done this month, then we'll probably see another check. That's sort of my experience telling me that. Okay. So this is what we're going to cover. Federal tax law changes that you need to know about, extender provisions that are still in effect, the latest on ITINs, IP pins, and PTINs, federal forms that are now available in Spanish, additional changes of note, and then other federal tax law changes that you need to know about. So the recovery rebate credit. So the stimulus checks or EIP checks, economic impact payments that went out earlier this year were actually a prepayment of a 2020 tax credit. That's how it worked. So most people will or have received direct economic recovery rebate payments of $1,200, $2,400 for couples filing joint, and then another $500 for each child under 17. There were phase outs, $150,000 for joints, $112,500 for head of household, and then $75,000 for single. Okay. Now, technically, the rebate is an advance payment of a special 2020 tax credit. So what does that mean for us? That means we have to reconcile that payment. So inside the tax return, there's going to be a section about the economic recovery rebate, and we will have to track that. I'll show you guys where that is. Change slide. There you go. There is a new section, line 30 on the 1040. The calculation is done on a worksheet in the form. Most of it's going to be AutoCalc. I'll show it to you guys when we get into the software. I'm going to specifically go over these points of change. The calculation is based on the taxpayer's 2020 income, filing status, and number of eligible credit. You'll have to reconcile this. So you are going to have to ask them, how much did you get? The key to this is if they had it all taken for child support, they still got it. So it still has to be reported. I encourage you to strongly encourage your clients to be honest about this, because we don't know how the IRS is going to handle it if someone claims they didn't get the credit and they actually did. There's two options on it. One is that they just remove it from the refund because they did already get it and then they fund it. Well, that presents a problem for you as a tax preparer, because that refund's going to come up $1,200 or $2,400 or $1,700 short of what you told the taxpayer, right? The second piece to this is the IRS could kick it into error recovery and request verification. They request verification. I've seen returns that were kicked into error recovery in February fund last month. So there's no telling when that refund is actually going to be issued at that point. So I would encourage you to tell them, in particular, those people who say they didn't get it, go, are you sure you didn't get a check? Nothing was direct deposited into your account. I need you to be absolutely sure about this, because one of two things is going to happen. Either your refund's going to be smaller than what I'm telling you, or the IRS is going to hold it and there's no telling when it's going to get funded. So you're either going to come up short of what you think, or you're going to delay your refund even being processed. My guess is, from years of experience and having dealt with a stimulus payment in the past, they will kick it into error recovery. And if they kick it into error recovery, that 21 days goes out the window. You're looking 4 to 6 weeks minimum. And in some cases, you could be looking at months before those things are paid. Okay. So here's the circumstances in which they will have a refundable credit, which means that it'll show up in their refund. If they didn't receive the EIP payment at all, or if the economic stimulus payment was limited based on their income in 2018 or 19, and their 2020 income was below that limit. So for example, if they were married filing joint and their income in 2019 was 150,000, but their income in 2020 was only 80,000 because they couldn't work this year, they'll qualify for a stimulus for the EIP payment through the stimulus payment this year based off of their 2020 information. Another circumstance is if they didn't receive payment for their eligible children. However, the vast majority of taxpayers, this credit will be calculated as zero because they received their full EIP payment during 2020. Charitable contributions. So there is line 10B on the 1040. which will allow a deduction of up to $300 as an adjustment to income on their 2020 federal return if claiming the standard deduction. They're doing itemized, that still goes under the Schedule A for charitable contributions, but they've added this function or this deduction rather for those people who are taking a standard deduction. Now the cap is 300, so if they were over 300, it's still 300. If they were under 300, then it's whole dollar value amount. Payroll tax. This was a big thing. The president had said he wanted a payroll tax cut. That's not what he got. That may be what he wanted, but that isn't what he got. What he got was a payroll tax deferment. So what the payroll tax deferment did was allowed employers and self-employed individuals to delay paying the 6.2% employer share of the Social Security tax between March 27th and the end of the year. Now, any deferred tax will need to be paid during the following 2 years, with half paid by the end of 2021 and the other half being paid at the end of 2022. So that bill is still due. The tax is still going to be due. They're just spreading that out over 2 years, essentially, is what happened. So for individuals, this will be calculated on Schedule SE or Schedule H, depending on what they qualify for. On the Schedule SE, the calculation needs to be done in Part 3. So if they did this, that's part of Part 3 on the Schedule SE. IRA changes, or a couple of IRA changes. Beginning in 2020, taxpayers may contribute to an IRA after they reach age 70 and a half, but only if the bank allows it. Okay. Required distribution must now begin when the taxpayer reaches age 72. For taxpayers that turned 70 and a half after 2019. Before this change, it was when they reached 70 and a half. So they can kind of push that distribution back about a year and a half. Distributions of up to $5,000 that are used for childbirth or adoption will not be subject to a 10% early withdrawal penalty. So if that $5,000 up to $5,000 was used for childbirth or early adoption, childbirth or adoption, not how you have early adoption, they won't be subject to the 10% early withdrawal penalty. COVID-19 retirement distributions. So similar to the retirement provisions for federally declared disaster areas. So for distributions that are related to COVID, an individual may withdraw up to $100,000 free of the 10% early withdrawal penalty and spread the taxable portion over 3 years. The withdrawal will not be taxable if the distribution is recontributed within that 3 years. And the maximum loan amount that they can take off of their retirement is $100,000. You can't take any more than that. Credit for sick leave and family leave for certain self-employed individuals. So there's a new form, 7202 is where this credit would be calculated. It allows self-employed individuals affected by the pandemic to claim a credit for any time they were unable to work because they had coronavirus or they needed to care for someone else who had or currently has coronavirus. It's a credit for sick leave and family leave for these individuals. The amount from 7202 for knowledge, I guess, transfers to Form 1040, Schedule 3, Line 12B. Now, it's important to note here that this only applies to those people who are unable to work because they had coronavirus or they needed to care for someone who had coronavirus. This does not apply if they were unable to work because of the coronavirus pandemic. Those are two separate things. Okay. So these are the extended provisions set to expire at the end of 2020. Now, these won't affect the 2020 tax returns, but they will affect your clients in 2021 unless they're renewed. At this point, there's no indication that they will be renewed or that there's any plan to renew them. So the tuition and fees deduction, so Form 8917, which is 1040 Schedule 1, Line 21, that's set to expire at the end of 2020. Exclusions from income of foreclosed home mortgage debt, Form 982, line 1E. The medical expense deduction floor will remain at 7.5%. The ability to treat mortgage insurance premium as qualified mortgage interest is set to expire. There are a variety of others. I sort of highlighted the four most important. In particular, business and energy related provisions still in effect for 2020. You can get a list of those provisions. See publication, look at the 2019 publication 17, pages 1 and 2. We'll have those lists of other extender provisions. Expiration of ITINs. So at the end of 2020, ITINs with the middle digits will expire and must be renewed. 88. That's sort of that list there. Anyone who has middle digits 90 through 99 and those ITINs were issued before 2013 and they have not been renewed will expire. Any ITIN that has not been used for the past 3 years, so 2017, 18, and 19 will also expire. So if they haven't used their ITIN in 3 years, if they haven't filed in 3 years, that ITIN is going to expire and they'll have to request a new ITIN. This is the last year that ITINs issued before 2013 will need to be renewed. At this point, everybody should have renewed their ITIN already. PTINs. Preparers must still renew or obtain a PTIN. The renewal period for 2021 began mid-October. And there is now an IRS fee of $35.95 to renew or obtain a PTIN. So you got to renew it and you got to pay the fee. Identity protection pins. So beginning January of 2021, any taxpayer may request an IP pin through the Get an IP pin tool on the IRS website. So they'll go through a secure access process. If an individual cannot get through the secure access process, they'll need to do the following, and this is based entirely on their AGI. Okay, their AGI is less than 72,000 on their most recently filed return. They'll need to complete Form 15227 and mail it to the IRS. An IRS assister will then call them and verify their identity. Once verified, the taxpayer will receive their IP PIN near the end of 2021, which they'll use on their 2021 federal return next filing season. Okay. If their AGI is over 72,000, they need to call the IRS and make an appointment at the IRS Taxpayer Assistance Center and then authenticate themselves in person. Once they have authenticated themselves, they'll receive an IP PIN in the mail within about 3 weeks, which is good for them to use on their 2020 federal return during this upcoming filing season. So the IRS has added Spanish versions of the following forms for tax year 2020. Form 1040 and 1040 SR and all of the schedules. For Schedule 8812, Schedule EIC, and then Form 1040 and Schedule 8812 instructions. You will have the option, and you already do, to print the 1040 and schedules in Spanish from within the software. It's actually on the personal information sheet. There's a line that says print forms in Spanish. There's a checkbox. I'll show that to you guys when we get into the software after our break. Couple of other changes of note. One is the Form 1099 NEC. So non-employee compensation is reported on this new form. It was previously reported in box 7 on the 1099 miscellaneous. So you won't have the 1099 miscellaneous for your 1099 people. It'll be your contract workers, so to speak. It will be the 1099 NEC, and I'll show you guys that form. Okay. Health insurance mandate penalty. There's no penalty at the federal level. However, California, Massachusetts, New Jersey, Rhode Island, and Washington, D.C. do all have mandates with a penalty at the state level. Schedule LEP. Schedule LEP is a new form that allows taxpayers to indicate a preference of what language other than English they wish to receive written communications from the IRS. Now, there's no guarantee that the taxpayer will receive communications in this preferred language immediately. It appears that, at least for this first year, the IRS will use this information, will use the information from this form to determine the order that additional languages will be implemented. So they're looking to expand the availability of communications in multiple languages, and they're going to use this to figure out what that order is. I would assume Spanish is going to be first, and then from there, it'll go down based on how many people submit this. It is not a required form. 1040X e-file. So in August, the IRS opened up 1040X for electronic filing. Now, for filing season 2021, so this next tax season, you may file amended returns electronically for tax years 2020 and 2019, in which the original return was filed electronically. If they paper filed in 2020 or paper filed in they paper filed 2020 or paper filed in their 2019, you will not be able to file a 1040X electronically. You'll get a rejection. Okay. The 1040NR has been redesigned to mimic the Form 1040, and it will have the same schedules 1 through 3. Quality improvement property. So there's been a technical correction for depreciating improvements made to buildings. It now allows this property to be depreciated over 15 years and makes it eligible for bonus depreciation. Changes to NOL, or net operating loss. Losses that occurred in 2018, 19, or 20 can be carried back 5 years. These losses can fully offset income in prior years, and it is applicable to both individuals and corporations. A couple of other tax law changes. The 50% AGI limit on charitable contributions has been suspended for 2020. There was a change to business interest limitations for 2019, and for tax years 2019 and 2020. The interest deduction for businesses increased to 50% of the taxable income. It was 30% prior, and it will be again after 2020. So in 2021, it will go back down to 30%. Employee retention credit. This is eligible employers may take a refundable payroll tax credit equal to 50% of the qualified wages paid to employees from March through December of 2020. For more information on that employee retention credit, go to the IRS website, go to the FAQs, and look for employee retention credit. Virtual currency questions. So the following question is now on Form 1040, page 1. At any time during 2020, did you receive, sell, send, exchange, or otherwise acquire any financial interest in virtual currency? What they're specifically talking about with virtual currency is things like Bitcoin. The idea behind implementing this question is to educate taxpayers on the tax consequences of using virtual currency in transactions. So one of the consequences of using virtual currency is that if a taxpayer uses virtual currency like Bitcoin to buy something, the IRS considers this a sale of a capital asset, and it should be reported on a Schedule D. Another one is if the taxpayer receives virtual currency as income, virtual currency for compensation for services performed for someone, the IRS is going to consider that as income, and it must be reported on the income tax return. So those are two things. Information on virtual currencies can be found on the IRS website by searching virtual currencies page or the frequently asked questions on virtual currency transactions. All taxpayers should answer this question. This year, the question will appear on all returns. Last year, it was only on Schedule 1 and only appeared on the printed form. The taxpayer answered yes on Schedule 1. This is going to be a required field. You have to answer this question. So you're going to have to ask your clients this. Most of them are going to say no. You might end up with 2 people who go, oh, yeah, I did. So here's the new tax brackets. I'm not going to go through each one of the tax brackets as far as that goes. Um, this presentation, along with the other two presentations, will be posted to the simpletextsupport.com website under Keep It Simple documents. So if you go to Keep It Simple and then go to the documents section, these will be posted there later this evening, maybe tomorrow. The tax brackets didn't change a whole lot. They were adjusted for inflation, and that's about it. It's pretty standard adjustments and changes to it. Same thing with the standard deduction. Standard deduction basically went up $400 a person. So we're not seeing huge changes there. EIC income limits and max credit amounts. So I always give you guys these income limits so that you don't have to call into support and say, hey, this person's not getting EIC, and we get in and it's because they made too much money. So these income limits are important as you're trying to figure out why somebody maybe didn't qualify for EIC. They've got one dependent, they're filing head of household, and they made $50,000. The discussion's over. They're not going to qualify, right? And it is reduced up to that point. Investment income limit, if they have investment income, it must be less than $3,650, period. So the maximum credits, I know the number that you guys really want is this first line. For marketing purposes, which I completely understand, it's $6,660. I will tell you this, be very careful when you market with EIC or refund amounts, but in particular EIC, you want to make sure that you use the phrase up to $6,660. If you put just $6,660, the IRS if the IRS finds it, which they probably will, they're going to fine you for misleading. It's misleading advertising. So you don't want to do that. You don't want to get fined. Okay, so we're done here. We're gonna pause this. All right, so as soon as we log into the software, we're going to see some of these things that need to update, validate PTINs. Update, validate this. You can do the prior year import. I'm going to close that out for right now. So I'm going to show you one of the new changes that we made this year. Is previously the only way to sign documents using the online software, which is what I'm going to show today because that's the vast majority of what our clients use. The only way to sign was using a mouse or a stylus on a touch screen. We have now added support for these two. So we have the, oops, okay, I know. The two signature pads, the TS460 is the most common, but we also support the TLBK. There are instructions here when you click help that will show you what you need to do to install. But of course, if you need assistance with that, customer support is always here to help you with that. So now you can use the electronic signature pads in the online software. Okay. We're going to go back over here. I'm going to go into this return. So we're going to jump into a return that I carried forward from the prior year using direct input, because I want to show you guys a couple of the changes and some of the things that we talked about with tax law changes first, and then I'll actually go through sort of a full return with you. So one of the things that we talked about was the Spanish forms. You can click here if you want to generate Spanish versions of the forms. Okay, so that's been there. When we go to the 1040 now, I want to show you this line 30 where we have the recovery rebate credit. There's this worksheet here. So we'll launch that worksheet out. Maybe. There it goes. So it's going to ask, did you receive an economic impact payment in 2019? And really it's for 2019, the stimulus payment. Then you're going to enter the amount. If they had an offset, so everybody who got the economic stimulus payment should have, I'm not going to say they all did, but they should have gotten an IRS notice 1444 as well, which would show them if there was an offset. So if they have that form and they bring it to you, that's a form for you to pay attention to, because it's going to show what the economic impact payment was that they received. So in this particular case, I put in 1,200. So they're going to enter the amount before any offset as shown on the IRS notice 1444. If they're filing a joint return, include the spouse as well. So not just the taxpayer, but if they have a spouse, then it would be 2,400, not 1,200, right? All right, so let's go back. We're going to go over here to the 1040. We're going to show, where is it? Right here. Line 10B, that's where that charitable contributions go if they're taking the standard deduction. Remember, that is capped at $300 max, regardless of filing status as well. It's not 300 per person, it's 300 total. Okay, so those are some of the new things, as well as, is it on schedule 1? Where did we put that question? Maybe on the personal information sheet. Yeah. So our question about the virtual currency is not on the 1040. It is on the personal information sheet. It's right here at any time. It's the exact question that we read in that presentation, right? So that's important for you to know as well. So that's pretty much the changes other than the 1099 NEC, which I'll show you guys. The 1099 NEC is going to look exactly like this. You're going to treat it the same way you would a 1099 miscellaneous or a W-2. They're going to bring you the form. It's going to be a 1099 NEC, right? And you're going to enter it exactly as it appears. It's pretty simple. And then in this reporting section is where you're going to determine where it actually gets reported to. So you could do this pick list and you do Schedule C and do use, right? And now if we go look at the Schedule C, that income is going to be reported over here on the Schedule C. See, gross sales says 2,500. And we'll see it down here. It'll say 1099 NEC, anything that came from 1099 miscellaneous. So if we go look at the 1099 miscellaneous, this does look different because of the form 1099 NEC. So I'm going to go show you guys sort of, this is where it used to be, was in box 7. Now it's a checkbox that says payer made direct sales of 5,000 or more of consumer products to a buyer for resale. So all of the rest of the boxes are the same. It's just box 7 that really changed, as far as I know. We're going to go back to the file forms. So that's pretty much it. I mean, as far as what's changed inside the software with preparing a tax return, the rest of it's going to look exactly the same way as it's always looked. But we're going to go back. I'm going to show you guys a couple of things here. So this is my tax office section. You know what? Let's start a new return. I know what I'm going to do. Give me 1 second. I'm going to pull up a video. I should have had this ready. My apologies. All right, we're going to stop this share real quick. So this video that I'm going to show you guys now is available on our YouTube channel. And this is going to go over everything involving the TaxPass mobile app. Okay. I'm sorry, the My Tax Office mobile app.
Okay, great. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. We're going to cover the My Tax Office mobile app, new for this year for our Keep It Simple customers. It is a taxpayer mobile app that allows your taxpayers to actually complete and submit their return, their client data information, upload documents, sign. We're going to go through the app step by step, but we're going to start on this screen here. This is the login to the online software. If you're using the desktop, the functions are the same. We're just showing the online because it's the preferred product. So we'll click login. Now inside the mobile app, where the piece of information that you're going to need is under setup. And right here, there's a link, there's a button for generate view mobile passcode. Your clients will need this passcode here to be able to set up the app so that their return information actually gets submitted to you and not to the ether. You can also check this box. It says send me an email when customer creates a new return on the mobile application. It will send it to the email address you have listed here. So let's go look at the mobile app. Now the mobile app is available as of right now for Android devices in the Google Play Store. iPhone should be available by the end of the month. So we're looking at the app here. So you've got a couple options: the sign in information if they need to sign in, if they've already created an account, or sign up. We're going to sign up for the purposes of this. So we go test, and we'll enter a social. And then inside the date of birth. And then right here is that firm passcode that we were talking about before that your clients will need. The firm passcode for me is TH9675. Now each preparer has their own firm passcode. Now you can use the administrator firm passcode if you want all of the returns to come to the administrator account and then be distributed that way. Or each individual preparer can have their clients sign up into the mobile app and then the returns get sent to you. However you want to do it. So now they're going to create a username. They're going to create a password. So you'll see right out of the gate here, welcome, gives them the name, My Tax Office, and then it lists who the preparer is. That information is wrong, they'll need to adjust the account. So now it jumps right into the primary information: the first name, last name, SSN, date of birth. They've already entered all of that information inside the mobile app. So at this point, you can jump right down to occupation. You can do worker, teacher, whatever the case may be. You can also indicate if they are married, yes or no. We're going to say no for the sake of time. If they answer yes, then they would just need to enter the spouse's information: the first, last name, SSN, date of birth. Here we're going to put the address in. You'll see it lists their residence state by default. If you need to change that, you can just click and change, or they can rather. Get their email address. And then you can put in the routing and account information. If they're going to do direct deposit, they can enter checking, whether it's a checking or savings account, they can enter the routing number and the account number. And then it's going to show them the features. So it lets them know that they can view their prepared tax documents. They can send tax-related documents to you. The electronic signature option will be available in the dashboard. They can send and receive messages to and from you. So this is the dashboard. So inside this dashboard, they can see the status of their return. They can upload documents. They can sign documents if they have documents available for signature. They can send message. They can view forms. They can view the status. They can mark this box that they are ready and they agree that you can send this to the IRS. They can check where's my refund. They can view their contact information. They can view the tax office information. So we're going to kind of go through these one by one. We're going to start with upload documents. So in this upload document section, they just need to enter a description and then a document type. And down here in this section, in the bottom section, they have a couple of options. They can either attach a document that is already stored and saved on their mobile device, or they can actually take a picture and actually send that picture, you know, any kind of picture that they want to send through. And you'll see they can just hit OK. And then they're going to click upload. And that will upload the document. It'll let them know that it was successfully uploaded. And again, if they go view document, they can see all of the documents that are listed there. So now we're going to look at send message. They click send message, they click new message. And it's that simple. When they get new messages, they'll get a notification when they open the app that they have a new message from the tax preparer. View forms. In the case that they have forms, in this particular one, I don't have forms available. So once they have forms, they can actually go and view their forms. And I'll show you guys what that looks like a little bit later once we have the actual forms. Depending on the amount of forms that they have, it will depend on how quickly they're able to download these forms. So you'll see the only two forms that we can generate based on the information that they have provided to us thus far is their letterheading, is the letterhead, and then the 1040. Now we're going to look at view status. In view status, they can see whether their federal has been filed, what the status of the state is, and what the status of the bank is. The agree to send to IRS and sign pad will only be active when it is available for them to do this. For example, the signed document, if they don't have any documents to sign, that is going to be deactivated like it is now. The agreed to send to IRS, neither one of these will be activated prior to January 1st. They click where's my refund, it will actually take them to the where's my refund page. Gives them the disclaimer, and then they can enter their actual information according to that page. Taxpayer information, they can view what information they have sent to us, what date of birth, what address, what zip code, phone numbers, and email addresses, as well as when they click tax office, they can get all of your information, your address, your phone number, your email address. This makes communicating with them significantly easier because they don't have to go search to try to find your information if they don't have you stored. Okay, so the app itself is pretty simple, pretty basic to use. I'm going to show you guys what it looks like once they've gone as far as I've gone today. So when we go back into the online software and we click into individual, you're going to see I'm going to get a notification. It says new returns are created from the My Tax Office app. So you click view returns. This will give you a list of all of the returns that were created in My Tax Office. So as you can see, here's the return, and you can see that there's also one document has been uploaded as well. So when we double click this, it takes us into the Manage My Tax Office app return. From inside here, you can view messages, you can send messages, you can request that they upload documentation, you can request their signatures, you can request review, and this is the process typically. They upload their documents, you prepare the return, you send it to them for their signature and their review, and then it's ready to send to the IRS. Now, if you want to manage the return, you just click Manage. And inside here, it looks like every other return that you would have created inside of here, right? It does show the manage, the client manager rather. Let's go take a look at the docs that were uploaded. So if we click DM Docs, you'll see that we can now see the document that was uploaded. We can save it, we can store it, we can print it if we need to. All of those things are inside of there as well. If we edit this return, you'll see that all the information that the taxpayer put in the mobile app, it shows up right here on the personal information sheet. So the first name, the last name, their filing status. By default, it's going to go to single if they're listed as single. You can change it to household if they have dependents, that kind of thing. The address information is all here. The routing and account numbers will all be here if they choose those things. So let's go back. So we go back and we go, okay, how do we get back to the tax office returns? So if you're in here, you can go to My Tax Office, and it'll take you back to this particular client's. So let's take a look at the message that was sent to us. We can view, and it says, hello, how are you today? So we can close that message. If we want to send a new message back, we can do it right from within inside the software, and it keeps that history. It also lets you know if that has been viewed, if it has been opened. You have a history button here that will let you know what date and time, where they did this from. All of those things will be listed every step through the process that they've done. You'll know what's going on, what they're using the app for. If for whatever reason you need to block an account from being able to access the app any further, it comes up fraud, they're being abusive to you or your staff, you can always come in here and click block, and that will remove their ability to do that. But understand that once you do that, that's it. They don't have access to the app any further. Okay. So now I want to show you what the messages look like from the mobile app end. So we're going to send a request for a document. All right, so let's flip back to the My Tax Office app. And you'll see, it, for security reasons, it does log them out pretty quickly. So we're going to go ahead and log back in. You see the very first thing that pops up right here, it says you have 2 unread messages. So I click view messages, and you can see I can click and open and see the message. Okay, so you need another uploaded document. Okay, great, no problem. I can click photo upload, choose the type, select the type as income, and then I can take another picture. And we can just upload that document. So the beautiful simplicity of this mobile app should save you guys a ton of time and money and energy, in particular for those clients that you have out of town.
Okay, so that was our mobile app. Again, this video is available on our YouTube channel. You can look at it. It's My Tax Office mobile app. The second piece in all of this, I'm going to get my screen back shared. Give me 1 sec. We need to move this back over. The second piece in this is the client portal. Now, previously, the client portal was restricted in a way, meaning the client portal was one way and the hang on, sorry. The client portal was one entity and the mobile app was one entity and they weren't connected to each other. That's no longer the case. So if they have a mobile app login, they can log into the client portal. If they have a client portal login, they can log into the mobile app, and those two things are now synced together. Okay. I'm gonna show you guys the client portal and what that looks like on this end. Give me 1 second. So the client portal, let's get that over there. We're gonna share screen too. So the client portal here, it's mytaxoffice.com. They go there and they can log in. I'm going to show you how you send that to them real quick. Let's see if I can log into the prior year site. So for example, if I have this client here, right, who's never had it, when I do, oh, well, let me do it. Okay. So we'll just create a new return. So we're going to go ahead and create this new return. And then when we get to the end piece of it, I'll show you guys that client portal. So once you start a new return, right, it's all basic stuff here. You're going to do date of birth, occupation. If they have an identity protection pin, you'll enter that here. I'm just going to do single on this one. 123 Main Street. Actually, I'll do head of household so I can show you guys that. All right. Going to enter our zip code. There's the zip code database. So if you enter the zip code, it will show there. Get the email address, get the phone number. I can tell you some banks do require multiple phone numbers. So you do want to make sure that you get as many contact phone numbers from them as possible. You want to make sure you check that resident state. You want to answer this question about, oh, word just escaped me, virtual currency. And then if they have routing and account number, if they want a direct deposit, you want to enter that information here. So we're going to do save. So I skipped this ACA question. So it's letting me know with this red mark here. If I click, it'll tell you it's an invalid entry. You got to answer yes or no. This particular case, no, they didn't receive a 1095A. Something to add sort of to this. If they received a form 1095B or a 1099C, it's not required to enter for 2020 rather. It is simply an informational piece now. So we're going to save. We're going to go into the next form, which is highlighted in bold, which is their additional information. Many state agencies are requesting ID information to combat identity fraud, okay, or identity theft. So you want to make sure that you go through this, you get their ID information as much as they're willing to do. I mean, if they don't want to give it to you, they don't want to give it to you. It is what it is. So we'll select the expiration date. Did you verify the identity in person? Yes. Yes, I had possession of it. It is valid. Okay. For the remote, you can say no. For the schedule LEP, this is where that question is. Do you want to state a preference to receive written communications from the IRS? If you say yes, then it's going to ask you to choose which language. I'm going to say no for the sake of this. I'm good getting it in English. So that's it. That's saved. So the next thing we want to do is we want to add our dependent. So you add in the dependent. You want to put in that relationship, date of birth, the SSN, if the dependent has an identity protection PIN, you want to enter that on the dependent itself. Okay. You want to make sure that you ask these questions. Did the dependent live with you last year? You want to enter how long, how many months. For head of household, at least one dependent must have this box checked as a qualifier for head of household. Not every dependent, just one. They have dependent care expenses. You're going to enter those here, and that'll carry over to Form 2441. Same thing with qualified tuition related expenses. Now, this only applies for those things that are not listed on Form 1098T. It's listed on 1098T. You don't enter that here. You'll enter that on the 1098T. You also want to make sure that you ask the question specifically about the health insurance marketplace. So we're going to say no. Okay. So if we click this filed forms tab, it's going to show us what forms have already been filed, right? So we're going to go back to all forms. We're going to use this search because we're going to go ahead and enter a W-2. So you select W-2, you click add new. You're going to enter the employer EIN. You're going to enter the address. Skip on down to this zip code here. Should pull the taxpayer's address. If this needs to be changed for whatever reason, you can change it. Then you're going to enter the wages. We're going to do 27,000 here, and we'll do 2,600. All right. So then if you have state information, you're going to enter that here. You want to fill out the W-2 exactly as it appears, right? So we'll save here. And there we go. Now, if you look on this left-hand side in this federal tax summary, now the total income has changed, the deductions have changed, what the total payments are, total tax credits, taxable income. So all of these things are here that show everything. Okay. So now we go file forms. So we see everything that's here. Well, I don't see an 8867. That's because the 8867 doesn't load by default, because you need to make sure that you go and actually fill this out and add new, because you need to complete an 8867 for each dependent independently. It's not just one size fits all. Okay. So we're going to answer these questions. If the questions are grayed out, it's because it doesn't apply, right? Now here you want to attach an explanation on line 5. The explanation essentially is what documents did you use to satisfy the knowledge requirements, right? So I'm going to just put school records, birth certificate, and we're going to save. All right, so we're going to go back down. We're going to answer question 6. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. No, they weren't. So then we go down into each specific due diligence questions for the credits that they're claiming. So these questions are for EIC, right? Then you jump down into child tax credit and then head of household. This is the most important question in here. You want to make sure that you answer this yes, but you also want to make sure that you do the due diligence requirements up here at the top and say yes. If you have additional notes, you can enter that information in here. You also want to mark who you got the information from. And I always recommend checking this box right here. This says check to generate this worksheet for taxpayer signature. This will have them sign on this 8867, essentially a worksheet that says this is everything. All of this is true to the best of my recollection, or to the best of my knowledge, rather. So that's done. Okay, so I should be done with this return, right? So let's go verify and let's see what's missing. Okay, so I'm missing taxpayer PIN information. Oh, and we're missing that recovery rebate credit. So let's click, we can go click here to fix, and it should take us over to the 8879. Okay, I don't know why I didn't. So we'll go load the 8879 manually. I'll write that up. So your PIN is already set from your setup as well as your EFIN, right? Taxpayer PIN, you want to click auto generate PIN, click entered by ERO, and then click save. All right, so now if we verify again, all I have left is the recovery rebate credit. If we click, it'll take us over to this screen. Let's say, did you receive the economic impact payment? We're going to say yes. And in this case, I'm going to say I got $1,200. So that's saved. And once we verify, it's a clean return. There's no errors. Now, you will not be able to mark a return complete or complete the payment process to electronically file the return until the return has been until after January 1st. So I'm going to pop over when we exit this return over to a 2019 return, so you guys can see what that payment process looks like, so that you're able to go through sort of the e-file process. Now, if you have documents to upload, you can do that from DM Docs here. You can upload or you can scan. So if you click scan, it'll pick up any camera that's thing. I'm already using the camera, so it won't let me scan again. You can also upload. You just choose the file path that you want to upload, and that's fine. You can upload anything. And then you want to type in what it is. So you upload. Oop. So the file name can't be more than 30 characters, but you get the idea. So we're going to go ahead and close this out. We're going to go back over to the manage returns screen. Okay. And this is where you would click that start payment once you're able to mark a return complete. And then you would go through the e-file process at that point. I'm going to show you the view print because I want you to see this 8867 worksheet. I think it's worksheet A. No? Trying to remember which one it is they sign. Oops, I have the view print here. Is it? No? Well, goodness, I can't remember what form it is. I'm drawing a blank. Let's do this. It may not be here because it might be here. Yeah, this is it. So when you fill in that note at the bottom of the 8867 with everything, that's where they can sign and verify that the information that they provided is true and correct. Right now, everything is going to be marked with this pre-production release. You can't print and they can't sign really anything at this point. I want to show you these two things. One is this export to document manager that will put a copy of the return over into the document into DM Docs so that you can see them, and then email this return. Once you click that, you just type in their email address and you can send them a copy of their return, and it will already be encrypted, and will tell them how to unencrypt, what the encryption password is for it. Okay. Appointments, there is an appointment builder inside here, so you can use this to check your appointments, or make appointments rather inside of here. So let's jump to a prior year so I can show you what that client payment section looks like, and then we'll go into the My Tax Office. We'll do this one. So you see here, I've marked this return complete, so I can click Start Payment. You're going to click Start Payment, then you're going to do Add New Invoice. Okay, I'm not enrolled with a bank, so I can't go through the banking process. But if you want a bank product, you select bank. In this particular case, it's going to be non-banking. You can modify these charges any way that you like. You hit continue. And then you're going to mark the invoice complete if you're doing a non-payment. Bank products, when you get to the end of it, it'll go through. Then you can either mark this return to e-file now, but we're going to do save and continue so that I can show you. We go back to manage returns. You see this button now says transmit now. Now, again, I want to stress this. These options will not be available until after January 1st. Okay. Is that the one? So when you want to send them get them set up for the portal, you go to My Tax Office, and then you're going to send this email. You're going to put in their email address twice, and it's going to send them an email to confirm their information. I'll show you guys what that email looks like. Give me just 1 second here. So this is what that email will look like. It will say, hey, we sent you a portal. You're going to click here to create the account. The link does expire within 30 minutes. So if they don't do it, or if they click the link and it says this link is expired, that's why. So this is where they're going to verify their information, right? So this is, oh, now I got to go look because I don't remember what I put for the birthday. There it goes. All right, let's close this window. So we know this was test, and the SSN was all ones. So they're going to verify their information. Now, this is very similar to what they would have to do with a remote signature request. They'll get a screen on their phone when they click the link in the text message to basically come to this screen to validate themselves, and then it will give them the documents. So then they'll create a username. They'll click create. Oh, that one already exists. So they do create. All right, and then you re-log in. And it's already saved here. They're going to put in this CAPTCHA. Now, the other thing that this does require is two-step authentication, and you'll see it when you first come in. Here's the two-factor authentication, right? So and immediately you're going to notice who the preparer is, their contact information, the same information that you see out of in the mobile app, right? When you click that tax office button. So we're going to send that verification code over to my email, and it's going to give you that verification code, shows them what the registered email address is. And it's going to give them an email that has a 6-digit code. So verify. So now we're in. So if they have multiple years, you'll see right here across the top, this is 2020. If they have 19, 18, they're all going to show here. This shows what the refund amount is already on the screen, gives them all of this information. So when we go view print, they can actually see the documents. And that's what it's doing now, is it's generating those documents for view. See, we can see all of the documents that are here that are available. So if I click on 1040, for example, it's going to open in a PDF. It's going to say pre-production. They can't, even if they print it, it doesn't do them any good, right? Document manager, if they want to upload documents or if they want to see documents that are already uploaded, they can add those here. Just the same way you do in DM Docs is the same way they do. E-signature, because it's not reviewed, we can't because it's not complete, but they will actually be able to sign with their mouse, or if they're on a mobile device, they can sign with their finger. And then messages. Now, the beauty to this more than anything else is not only do they have a secure place to go, but because they can see the document manager, and I'm gonna show you guys because I want to upload a little doc here. Let's try. Let me see if I can find something I can upload. We'll just hang on one second. I want to take a picture real quick on my other screen. All right. So if we go into DM Docs, let's say we have documents we want to upload. It gives you the option when you upload if you want this to be viewable in the portal or not. So for example, if they bring you the W-2, I would put that in there, right? If they bring you other records, because inevitably they're going to call you and say, hey, do you have a copy of this? And you can now say, just log into your client portal, go to the documents. You'll see all those documents listed there. And I'm going to show you guys. So when we do this, we're going to do other. We're going to choose this. We're going to choose my little test image here, right? We're going to upload this document. So the document's uploaded successfully. You can see the document now. And when I go over here into Document Manager, I can now see that document there. So once they're done, they can hit mark completed and the Document Manager goes away. At that point, they're done. They need to upload more documents, they still can. Doesn't prevent them from doing it, but that's the process. They want to mark completed. Same thing with these signatures. If you want to send messages, they can do the same thing. And we showed this sort of we showed you essentially the same thing in the mobile app, right? So if we go back over here to here, and if I go to dashboard, comes up, but I can also, I think did we sync these? Not yet. We go back to that client, right? We can still see those messages. Was it this one? Yeah. So we go back to my tax office. You're going to see that message in the same place as request is sent to client to upload documents. So you can do request document. Yes. And then you can send them the same message. So all of these things work in conjunction, the mobile app and the client portal. And like I said, if they have one or the other, it doesn't matter. They can still do the so if they signed up with the mobile app and submitted their return information to you from there, they can use the client portal once the return is finished. They can upload docs later. They can do all of those things. They get signed. The only thing that they can't do is actually submit taxpayer information their ID information. They can upload the documents, but they can't actually type anything in. That's where they would use the mobile app to actually send return information to you. But the fact that they're sort of joined together now makes that process so much easier. Okay. I'm going to jump back into one of these returns so I can quickly go over the Schedule C. So here's the Schedule C. I showed you guys earlier, we created the 1099 NEC, right? We reported it over. But I want to show you guys a couple of things in the Schedule C because I generally get questions about this. Income stuff is pretty easy. It's this car and truck expense. That's usually where I get questions. Now, if you have depreciation, you're going to use the 4562, and it's linked off here. But for car and truck mileage, go down into this part 4 and use this section. It's significantly easier than trying to put these expenses somewhere else. So we'll do, we'll say 3,000 miles. He didn't make a whole lot. So say yes, 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 no, no. And so if you're wanting to do actual expenses for that vehicle, then you can come into this section. If you're doing standard mileage rate, just use the standard mileage rate and hit save. One of the things I like about this, and I want to show it to you again, is that it calculates that standard mileage. So if I go actual expenses, see, there's the standard mileage rate. And let's say I've got $2,900 here, right? I can see, hold on, that's only 1740. I should take the actual expenses. So I'm going to do save. And so when I go back, it's 2,900. So it allows you sort of in the same window and screen to be able to view that information. The other question that I get a lot is about this 8995. I encourage you to do some research in it. For the most part, this is going to calculate itself. The only difference is if they're a service, trade, or business. And when you click learn more, it gives you sort of what the exceptions are as far as that goes and what sort of helps you qualify for those things. The most important part in this section here is this pick from list. You want to make sure that this is set appropriately to the right one. All right. So what I'm going to do is we're going to sort of end the recording piece. I'm going to open it up to you guys, let you guys ask any